they're focusing on agriculture and urban development. Well, we have one of the speakers. He spoke yesterday at that forum, and he's here to shed a lot more light on some of the points which he highlighted here at that forum. We're talking about the former Mexican president, Vicente Fox. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm very pleased to be here, my fourth visit to Nigeria, and this time to be with the governor of the state of Ogun to promote basic development through infrastructure and through agriculture. And there's no other way to defeat poverty but by creating jobs, creating wealth, exporting, and this is the vision of the governor in this forum. And I think it's been great for me to be here and be part of this new vision.
You yesterday spoke about the private sector, because while you were president, you had a unique strategy of selecting your cabinet. You headhunted them. And now you spoke about the private sector. What's the connection here?
Well, I do come from private sector myself. I worked for 15 years with the Coca-Cola company. And I started as a route salesman. And 12 years after, I was the president of the company. So I know what private sector and what investment is all about. So I think that in agriculture, what is needed here in Nigeria is that we start producing much more quality products. You have a great soil, plenty of water, good climate, so the best products and the quality of those can be produced here. But you don't only need that, you need also to process the products, agricultural product, into packed food and then export. The world markets are growing, expanding, paying pretty good amount of money for products that have the quality, products that have the quality assurance, and Nigeria has a great opportunity in this respect. I was telling yesterday the audience that Mexico provides United States with 75% of all their consumption of vegetables and fruits. It's billions of US dollars that Mexico exports to United States. Exactly the same thing can happen here in Nigeria if producers are supported by financing, by modern equipment, and by know-how to produce quality products.
What kind of policies financially did you put in place, or would you recommend that we adopt? Because access to credit is very key here.
Yeah. Well, there is 3 ways to finance a successful system. One is having foreign markets, exporting. That brings a lot of money to the producers. Number 2, commercial banking and private corporate companies, world companies. They do come and finance the fertilizers, the seed. They bring in the quality knowledge of how to process the food. They demand to have food that is produced with the quality. And finally, the government. The government has a strategic role associated with private sector. And government should have, yes, a rural bank, as we had in Mexico. Rural bank that is ready to make loans to the people that produces, that is at low interest rates, subsidized, and government also should have the obligation to come in and bring support of know-how, of education to the producers. So what we're talking about is a public-private partnership. Government on one side, investors and global corporations, and the producers. Associated, the miracle happens.
You always know that, oftentimes the public views that with some measure of skepticism and cynicism. Oftentimes there is criticism that follows that as well. When the government says they're going into partnership with some companies, people usually doubt, what the partnership is about. How did you overcome that skepticism and cynicism?
Yes. This divide in public opinion subsisted in Mexico before we came to the NAFTA agreement. which was a trade agreement with the United States. Everybody thought, especially the producers, that it would not work, that we could not compete with the United States, that we could not compete with the quality of the products, of the food products in the United States. But fortunately, we took the decision to do it, and we've been very successful. As I see it, we provide the United States with most of the food they consume. Now, we have to upgrade that divide. We have to understand that today the world moves on two parameters. One is private investment, which has the know-how, which has the management and the quality of what they do, which are successful worldwide. And on the other hand, governments that have also governance, that have capacities, and that can work together with the people. China, for instance, a huge, fantastic, incredible market, where Brazil is shipping all the way from Brazil to China their fruits, their vegetables, their soybean, their everything. And Brazil's economy is growing at a very fast rate.
I did hear you speak yesterday about, working in areas of comparative advantage when you talked about how Mexico now supplies the United States up to 70% of its fruits and vegetables, only and simply because you chose that part that you thought was more labor intensive, something that the United States might not want to go into. How did you also bring back, because one of the measures that would have come into that is bringing back dignity in labor. If you're going to get a populace to do work that is generally perceived to be harder, you have to also, put some measure of dignity into it.
Yes, okay, two concepts here. One is how you can compete by being selective, by focusing on what you do very well. And Nigeria has many microclimates, so that you can produce most everything. In the north, maybe you can produce soy. I was wondering and asking why doesn't Nigeria have wines, for instance? That's an incredible, incredible market in the world. Consumption of wine, table wine, and there's no grapes here. And Nigeria can produce grape, can process grape, and produce wine, and sell wine to the rest of the world. Just one example. So you have to be selective. That's very important. And when you're going to select, you select labor intensive, where you use a lot of labor. Is what is convenient for Nigeria or for Mexico. Not the products that are produced with machinery and technology. Let the United States do that. What we can do is where the hands of the people, the quality of the people of Nigeria can produce quality products. I was eating a banana this morning, tasty, but the look is not there. And markets are very demanding. Even the look of the banana has to be healthy, has to be yellow, has to be beautiful. I use the word beautiful. And that can be done through genetics today. That can be done adapting the seed and the plant to the climates of the place. So if you bring in that technology, you can produce great wines here. You can even produce tequila if you want. Tequila is a worldwide famous drink. It comes from a plant, the agave. That plant is farmed. Farmers in Mexico produce the plant, then it's processed, and you get tequila. So everything done with love, everything done with quality works, especially on the demanding of quality of world markets. And of course, Nigeria has to develop its roads, its infrastructure, its ports, so that once you have the product, you process it, and you can take it to Europe that same day. That's very important. In Mexico, what we produce of vegetables, we ship them immediately, and 24 hours later, they are in the supermarket in the United States. So everything can be done by putting together the producer, the corporate, global corporation, and the government.